Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. It's a couple minutes before, but just want to talk to you a little bit about what we're going to do tonight. We are going to make some flowers, some roses, and I don't have any samples, but we're also going to make some poinsettias, and if I can swing it, we're going to try to make some callas too. So this is the first part of the project, and the second part we will do in 2 weeks. So these are some samples. They're made out of bread dough, and they're very hard. You can throw them, and they hardly chip or anything. I mean, I've got a little chip on that one, but they're very hard, and they'll last forever. And you can make them as little as you see this one, as little or as big, like this one, as you want. So they're kind of fun, and they work really good. After you get them made and they're dry, they're a little flexible, so you can cut off this back part to make them more flat, which is what I do when I use them. And you can make them with lots of layers, or you can spread your layers out. You know, you can kind of do lots of different things with them, make little buds, and so they're really versatile. Okay, let me set these aside. And let me show you one of the projects that I've already used them on. Hang on one second. Okay, so I think I told you all lots of times that, if you follow me at all, that my daughter's getting married in April. And I posted a picture of this in a couple of different places. But this is one of the ways that I used it. And let me back it up a little bit so it's not so close. And here you can see I've made the letter L for love. I've got 4 bottles. And they all have different stuff on them, but this one I put the little flowers on. And so you can use them on different things. But that was what I originally started making them for. Okay, so let me get this all set here, and we'll get started. Wrong way, Deb. Okay, so you'll find lots of tutorials for this online, and one of the things they tell you is to take your crust off. I'll tell you, I don't bother. I throw it in the food processor and let it grind up. You can do it however you want. You don't have to use a food processor. You certainly can just take the crust off and tear it into bits and pieces and then put it in your bag or in a bowl or whatever. I like to do it this way because it's easy. It comes out fine and mixes really nice. And, I'm lazy. This is the easy way. So we're going to start out by, we'll do the poinsettias last, I think. So we're going to start out making some mint green ones. So what I have here is 4 pieces of bread, and I've crushed it up. And to add to that, you need a tablespoon of glue per piece of bread. So I need 4 tablespoons of glue. And I'm just going to guesstimate. I'm not going to do exact. But certainly if you want to use an exact measurement, feel free. So I'm just going to put it on the edge here until it looks like about a tablespoon. So you can see I've just put it in the inside of the bag there. Okay. So I've got close enough to a tablespoon. I'm going to let that go down. And I'm going to add another one. Okay, that's probably close. And you can always add more. So, if you're not going to measure, err on the lighter side. So that's 2. There's 3. One more. 4. Okay. Now, all I'm using is cheap school glue, as you can see here. Elmer's works great if you've got that around the house. You can use, like Eileen's tacky glue, any of that, but I just buy the cheapest stuff possible because you're just going to mush it up and it's not going to matter anyway. So then you just take your bag and you start mushing it until you get it into a dough. Pretty easy. Okay, now you don't want it super wet because I'm going to add color to this. Now, if you just wanted a beige like this or an ivory, whatever you want to call it, then yeah, you might want to add a little more glue. But the paint is also going to act to make it sticky. So, yeah, it is squishy fun. You're absolutely right, Deanne. This is something you could do with your kids even. Or grandkids, whatever the case may be. Okay, I'm going to take my rings off now because I'm going to stick my fingers right in it. And as you see, it comes out, pretty much in a glob. You don't really have to do a whole lot. I'm just squishing it together more. Okay. All right, so that looks pretty good, I think. So we're going to add a little bit of paint. And to this, you're just going to add until you think it looks right. So there's no specific amount on this. So I'm just going to squeeze a little in. So you can see there I've kind of got, I don't know, maybe a tablespoon. But it's just a blob. Then I'm going to zip it back up and mush that in there. And the reason I'm doing mint is because my daughter's wedding colors are peach and mint, and copper. So I've already got those peach ones, so now I'm going to do some mint. And again, you're just squishing, squishing, squishing. Okay, I've got it all kind of mixed in there, but there's some, as you see, there's some white areas, so I may have to add more. And I think I don't like the color, so I think I'm going to add more to get it a little darker. But you really can't tell until you really mush it in there good. But yeah, that's too light to me, so I'm going to add more paint. And yes, it's fine, your hands get all gooey. Okay, another big blob. Zip her back up. Angela, can you type in the recipe? It's 1 tablespoon of glue for 1 piece of white bread. Okay, I think that looks pretty good now, so I'm just going to dump it out. And you got kind of a gooey mess. Doesn't look like much right now, does it? Okay. So you just start squishing with your hands. Make sure you get it all good and mixed up. And you want it smooth. Hi! You don't want any white bits left in it, so you really got to mush. And yes, your hands get gluey and gross. Okay, so we're just going to keep rolling. And it takes a while to get it mixed up. But it's kind of like being a kid again. You get to play with Play-Doh. Great thing about these is when they're done, if you don't like the color, they can be painted. Okay, and I don't know if you remember making snakes when you were a kid. But that's kind of what I'm going to do here, just to get it all mixed together. Fold it over and do it again. And you see how it's not sticking to the pad? This is one of those non-stick pads anyway, but that's how this stuff works even if you do it like, because the first time I did it on a, like a Silpat pad that, you know, for baking, just one that you cut on or whatever, one of those plastic ones. Me too, Deanne. I could be a kid again easily. I like coloring. I like playing with Play-Doh. All that kind of stuff. Okay, we're going to do it one more time just to make sure because I see a few little white spots in there still. I don't know if you can see that, probably not. But I want to make sure it's really mixed up good. And the paint gets into everything. Okay, this is looking really good. Okay, give me just 2 seconds. I'm going to go wash my hands, and then I'll come back, and we'll start making the roses. Okay, here we go. Yeah, right, Pam. I can cook with Play-Doh. Okay, so to make these, you do not need very much. This is about the total amount you're going to need. Here, I'll roll it into a ball so you can see. It's about the size of a small super ball maybe, or a Brussels sprout, something along that size, to make one of the bigger flowers. Okay, that's about all you're going to need. Now, this will dry out fast, so my recommendation is to put it back in your bag to keep it dry while you're working with it. Okay? So, what you're going to do next is just pinch off a little bit, and this is going to be the inner part, so you don't want it very big. In fact, I think I got too much. So you need maybe the size of a pea, about that much to start off, and then you just flatten it out. And I just, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just flatten it out. Make it kind of rounded. And just pat it until you get it where you want it. It's really easy, guys, but they turn out so pretty. Okay, so you got kind of a circle. And, you know, roses are not perfect, and they do have scallopy edges, so you don't need to worry if it's not perfectly round. You can see mine definitely isn't. Here, I'll lift it up. It's definitely not round. Okay? So you just pick and you kind of look at it and see, you know, where you think you want it to go. So I think I want this side to be the top, so I'm just going to roll it into a bud. And there is the center of my flower. So you can see it's just rolled, and it's at an angle, so you have, you know, one side out. Okay, and then we're going to set that aside for a minute, and we're going to take another little piece about the same size and flatten that one out. And it is sticky, so, you know, it's going to stick to your fingers. It works great just to pat it, I think. Okay? And you want it, you know, pretty thin. You don't want it too thick because then it excuse me, when it dries, it's going to be too thick on your thing. And if you get your piece too big, like this one I think is going to end up being too big, then, so that one's pretty thin now and good. So if it ends up being too big, I just take something and cut it in half, okay? And pick it up, and you got this little half of a circle. And so you lay it on here, and you just kind of bend it like that. It's really simple, see? And then I take it and bend it out however I want it, you know. And then you take your next little bit, and you add to it. And you don't want it to be completely opposite. You want it to overlap a little bit so it starts looking like the flower, okay? So you can see, and I may have made that center bit a bit too much, so I'm going to kind of push it down in and then shape it again. That's the great thing about this. Like I said, it's working with Play-Doh, and we've all done that. Okay, so there's the beginning. I'm going to take another little bit and just keep repeating. And like I said, you want it pretty thin. This one I think is going to be about the right size. Ooh, that one's really sticky. Let's start over. Okay, and I don't like how that is, so I'm just going to tear it off and kind of pat it down. And there we go. And see how that one's got kind of a little, I don't know if you can see that. It's got like a little tear right there on the end. That's okay to me because that's going to look like the little bends in the flowers, you know, when they aren't perfect on the edges. And I'm going to stick that one on right there. Oh, not getting it on straight. There we go. Now I got another layer. And like I said, you just keep repeating until you get it to the size you want. So I'm just going to make a few more little petals here, and then I'm going to stop on this one. The crust, like I said, you can leave okay. If you look at the other tutorials online, they all say take the crust off. I put mine in the food processor. If you put it in the food processor, it will grind up your crust enough that you don't have to. It's probably going to be smoother if you take the crust off. So let me just say that much. So it's totally up to you. I'm lazy. I throw it in the food processor, and it turns out just fine for me. Okay, that one's a little big, so I'm going to cut it in half. And this is just a big skewer, you guys. You can use whatever you want, a knife or whatever. Okay, and I don't put them on perfectly because I want it to look, you know, kind of real. So, oops, that one's not going to go on at all. And this is pretty forgiving, so you can, you know, if you accidentally squish it like I just did, you just pull it out again. Okay, so there we have the beginning. Actually, I kind of like the size of that one, of a rose. So there you can see. It's really simple. What do you think? Okay, and then you have to set these aside, and I let mine dry for about 2 days before I use them, which is why we're going to do the second half of the project the next time. I'm going to go ahead and make another one just so you can see. And I might make this one a little bit bigger. Okay, so to make it bigger, obviously, you're just going to use bigger leaves. So, got my center. And I'm going to start rolling it. Okay, so there I've got my center roll. Now, I want you to look, this is kind of long, so I'm going to pinch it off at the bottom and just reuse it and then just pull that together. And that way it's a little bit shorter. Now you can see it's a little bit shorter. Okay? All right, so now we're going to make the next sleeve. And this time I'm going to make it bigger. So we're going to pat it down. And then kind of round it out a little bit. And instead of cutting them in half this time, I'm going to use them as they are. I don't know if you can see this. I want you to see how thin I'm actually getting this. Okay, you want it pretty thin. Can you see that? Yeah, that's what I like about them, Pam, is they end up looking almost real, like this one right here. I think that looks real. Let's see. There we go. I think that looks like a real rose. And, you know, if it, obviously, if you got close to it, it doesn't. But from a distance, I mean, I think they're fabulous. And they're so easy. Okay, so this one I'm going to make bigger. So I'm going to put this bottom part on and then bend my sides in a little bit so that I start at a bigger place. And just bend that out just a hair. So there's the beginning of that one. And again, you know, even for these big leaves, you don't need more than a pea size because the other ones I cut in half and this one's bigger, so we're just going to use the whole thing. So we're going to squish again. Okay, that one's kind of falling apart. There we go. And I really like the rough edge look, but if you wanted it to be perfectly smooth, you could probably, you know, use those little cutters that you would use for like canapes or something, but I like the rough edges because I think it makes it look more real. So let's see, I think I'm going to put this here like this. And then the other thing is it does stretch, so you can pull it if you don't like where it's laying. And again, I'm just going to bend it out just slightly because you're going to readjust later. Okay? Let's do another layer. It is really, really thin. About 2 days to dry. That's what I'm saying. Obviously, it depends on the thickness of, you know, how you make your petals. As thin as mine are, I could probably get by in 24 hours, but I like to make sure they're really dry, so I let them sit for 2 days before I actually use them on anything. So I make up a bunch ahead of time and just keep them in a little container. And once they're dry, you know, as long as they stay dry and not moist, they don't get moist, they'll last forever. Okay, so that looks like another pretty good one right there. So now I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to put it, I think, over on this side this time. There we go. Okay, now you can see it's starting to come together. It's kind of hard to see in that light. There you go. Starting to come together. Starting to look like a rose. Okay. One of the reasons I like to pat them on here is because that's how I get them thin. It's harder to do if you do it in your palm. And most of the online ones tell you to do that, to just, you know, work it in your fingers or your palms. But I think it works better to get them thin and flat if you pound them. Well, you pound the crap out of them on the desk. Okay, so there's another one, and we're going to put that one there. And I like to sometimes just bend them a little bit because that gives that, you know, 3D effect there. Here, let's see. Yeah, there you go. So you can see. And then you can push it up so you get that kind of dimension. There you go. Like I said, this is so easy, and you can do this with your kids, guys. I mean, you know, it's just simple. Okay. I'm going to put a couple more leaves on this one, and I think I'm going to be done with it. And then we'll move on to another color and another flower. If any of you guys make them, I want to see what you do, so make sure you tag me in your photos. Okay, there's one more. I'm going to put one more on and be done with this one. And after you work with it, you know, I mean, when I first took it out, you could see it was kind of grainy looking. But after you pat it and you work with it, it gets very, very smooth, like Play-Doh. Okay, I think we got that one now. And I'm purposely roughing up my edges, so. Okay, we're going to put one more on this side. And there you have it. You could keep going and add till they're big like this, you know. You can make them as long or short or however you want. But for this particular project, I needed some, that I'm planning to do, I needed some smaller ones. So I'm going to go with this. So here we have the two side by side. You see a small one. And even after it's been out for a few minutes, you can still bend it. And then we have this bigger one. Okay? I'll bring that up close again so you can see. I mean, I think they just look really realistic. I don't know how long. I've left mine in the bag for overnight and worked on them the next day. But, I mean, I haven't left it for days and days and days. So, I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I've never left it that long. Like I said, I make up a bunch and stick them in a container and just use them as I need them. So, okay, I'm going to set this mint bag aside now, and we're going to move on and make some callus. Wipe this off here real quick. You don't want to mix the green in with the ivory. Okay, now for this one I have a bigger bag because I'm going to use a lot of white in my project. So I have 8 pieces of bread in here. So I'm probably just going to take and pour some in. Now, and for this one, I'm going to use the clear. It's the same, you know, school glue, it's just clear. And you could still use the white, but I wanted this ivory color that the bread turns out. So I'm just going to pour a bunch in there. Probably about a half a bottle, I think, on this one. And then I'll see after that. Because I'm not going to be using any paint, there won't be anything additional to help it stick. So, okay. And so I'm just going to switch it up again. This is the fun part. Thank you, Deanne. They're so easy. I really want you guys to try them. Okay, now that I'm seeing the glue in here, I'm not loving the color. You can see it's kind of a, I don't know. Well, it's a bread dough color. Duh. Anyway, I think I'm going to add a little white paint just to make it not quite so yellowy ivory. I'm not liking this color. I don't know if it was a different bread or something that I used this time. I don't know. But anyway, let me grab my white paint. Oh, I guess I forgot to mention, I'm just using whatever craft paints I have on hand. I got bunches of different brands. This one, the green one, was Anita's because that was the closest color to mint that I could find. This is Craft Smart. I've got some folk art here. So, you know, you can use any kind. I've never tried using school glue, tempera paint. Don't know if that would work. But the acrylic works pretty good. Okay, so I poured a little bit in. Yeah, mix this back up now. Oops, I want my bag. I can get it filled tight enough. Yeah, really, Angela. It's a good way to take out stress, isn't it? She knows I've been under stress lately. I'm on the move constantly, it seems like. Home for a week or two and then back out on the road. Okay. So, we're going to go back to mixing it with my hands. Split apart here. This stuff goes a long way, you guys, so with the first time you do it, I really recommend just using one piece of bread because you'll be surprised at how many flowers you get out of it. If I wasn't having to do this wetting, I would not be making bunches of them in the same colors like this. I would make one piece of bread and I'd probably get 4 to 6 flowers, depending on the size, and some buds out of it. So really, start out with one recipe of it, unless you know you need a whole bunch for a specific project. Okay, so that's enough out of the bag, I guess, for now. Okay, I'm going to just do what I did before. Start rolling. And you see I put a little bit of white paint in there, so it's not going to be a bright white. So if you want a bright white, obviously add more white paint, but I wanted more of an ivory tone. The wedding is a vintage style wedding, so we're doing the off-white. Yes, white bread. I've never tried it with wheat bread. It probably would work the same, but it'd be tougher to color, I would think. Okay, Pam. Yeah, only take it out to a certain level, then stop. Okay, I will say this. The clear glue is stickier for some reason. It shouldn't be that much different because it's supposed to be the same ingredients according to the packages, but yeah, it's a little stickier. So you might want to use a tad less. But that is okay. We can make it work. Okay, I'm going to stand up and need this because I want it to get in there good. I don't want streaks in it. Ooh, this is fun. I feel like I'm 5 again. I like making pizza dough or something. And you see, as it mixes together better, it starts picking up off the table. So you're getting less and less as you go, which is the nice part, too. Okay, see, it just picks it right up. So it's not super messy. And we'll roll it and pick that up, too. Okay, I'm thinking that looks pretty good. So, one last time I'm going to run them, well, I shouldn't say one last time because we're going to make 2 more colors, but I'm going to run and wash my hands. I'll be right back. Okay, now, for a calla lily, yeah, I don't know if I would add flour because it really does dry out fast, guys. And it does pick itself up, so I don't think I would. I mean, you could if you got too much glue, I guess, but I've never had that issue, so I don't think I would. Okay, now, for a calla lily, you obviously need a stamen. And you have 2 choices on that. You can mix up a separate color and use that as your stamen, you know, like yellow or a light brownish golden color or something. Or you can just paint it afterwards, which is probably what I'm going to do. So you're going to take your little piece, and the stamens are not very big on a calla lily, so even that pea size, like that, is too much. So I'm going to cut that in half. And you're just going to roll it like a snake. And you want one end to be slightly thicker than the other. You see how I just rolled that? And you can see one end is fatter than the other. Okay, so that's going to be my stamen. I'm going to set that aside for a second. And then I'm going to take my ball of dough, and I'm going to make sure it's mixed really good because this white shows everything. So you really want to make sure the color is mixed in there good. Now you can see it's really smooth, and there's no graininess to it. So calla lilies are probably the simplest. I started with a little tougher one because, you know, they're just one shape. So for this one, I'm going to actually shape with my fingers, and you want a little point on the end, and then the rest is just rounded. So I'll make that my end because it's already got the point. And you're just going to flatten it out so it's rounded. Make it whatever size you want for, you know, depending on how big you made your stamen, because you can make these any size. Again, you want it thin, so keep your point, but, you know, stretch it out. And I had a friend of mine, actually, her name is Farina. She lives in India, and she made these and put them on stick pins. She baked them on the stick pins. And now I don't bake mine, so it probably would work just fine just to let it dry on there, but you could make your own flower top stick pins this way. Hers turned out really pretty. Okay, so that's probably big enough for the one I'm making. You see it kind of looks like a pumpkin. It's got that little point on the end. It's hard with that light. Okay, there we go. See, it's kind of got the little points. So I'm just going to let me clean some of this off real quick so you can see better. Okay, that's enough that I think I can get you to see better now. Okay, so there's my little piece with the point on the end, and I'm going to take my stamen, and I want the thicker piece at the top, okay? So I'm going to put it in the middle, and I'm going to squish down that bottom piece. Okay, let me see if I can lift that up so you can see it better. So I squished the bottom piece. Whoops, there we go. No. There we go. Squish the bottom piece into it, okay? And now you're just going to take the bottom and barely fold it over. Okay? And just kind of blend it slightly and then bend it out. And there you have a calla lily. That's how simple those are. Okay? Now, it's probably easier if you do the colored first, but I didn't want to sit here and mix 20 different colors before we started. So I'm just going to go in and paint my stamen. Whoops. There we go. Can you see that? Very, very simple. It's like the easiest of all the flowers to make. Okay, so I'm only going to make one of those because I just wanted to show you. It's very simple. I'll set that aside. And we're going to move on and do a poinsettia for Christmas, because that's what we're going to be using in our next class. Okay, let me scrape this off here. Are y'all enjoying this, or is it making sense to you? You can make any kind of flower out of it. You can, join your petals, make pansies, whatever you want. I mean, this stuff is versatile. You've all used Play-Doh, so it's really just a matter of how you mix it, I think. And then be sure to get it thin. That's the key. Okay, so poinsettias are a little tougher. We need red and we need green, so you see an R&G bag here. So for this, I only put in 2 pieces of bread because I'm not, going to make 10,000 of them like I am for the wedding. So I've got 2 pieces of bread in each one. So I'm going to go back to the white glue, and I'm going to put 2 tablespoons. There's about 1. Let it run down. And 2. Okay. And here we've got 1, maybe a little more, and 2. Okay, like I said, I'm a guesstimator. So there we go. I cook like that too. You never get the same recipe exactly twice. Okay, I'm going to use this green kind of metallic-y folk art for the bottom. So I'm going to squeeze some in there. I want it pretty good and dark, so I'm going to squeeze a lot. Okay, and for the red, I'm just going to pour some in. And don't overdo it, guys, because, it'll get too sticky if you do. So, let's see, my paper towels. Okay, how many of you know that poinsettias aren't actually flowers? in a mold. You could do that. You probably could do that. I've never tried that. If you do, Deanne, I want to see. So be sure to tag me on that. So does everybody know that? Does everybody know that that poinsettias are not actually flowers? They're really leaves. They're just modified leaves. I don't know how they get their color, but also, you know, everybody's so afraid of them. They say that, you know, they're poisonous and not. They're not. I guess they are poisonous to an extent, but according to statistics, you would have to eat like 500 leaves for a 50-pound child, to have any really harmful effects. Now, it will make your animals, if they eat the leaves, it will make them nauseous, and it can cause skin irritation. But it's mainly your younger ones, your puppies and your kittens. It's not a good idea, obviously, to let them eat it. If you see it, stop them. But it would take an awful lot for a big dog like my dog Delilah, who weighs 60 pounds. She'd have to eat like several plants to get really, really sick from it. So you may have some diarrhea or some vomit to throw up if they eat them, but don't be afraid of them. Because I was for years. I didn't have them because I didn't want my animals to get sick. Okay, that's the red. Now let's get the green one mixed up here. Oops, I didn't dip it. It's not as much fun when you don't use a big bag. It goes too fast. Yes, I'm pouting. Okay, we're going to start with the green. I'm going to get it out of the bag here. Okay, I think I put too much paint in it because it's really sticky. So I'm going to add some extra bread, which I happen to have a bowl full handy. There's my bowl of extra bread just in case I came prepared. Let's try that much. Yeah, I think that's better. Just going to roll it around and get all those extra pieces off. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's start mixing, just like we did before, until we get it all nice and smooth. Okay, that one looks pretty good, so I'm going to set it aside. And I'm not going to go wash my hands. I'm just going to wipe them off, and hopefully not too much of it gets in the red. Wipe this off. Okay, pretty good, huh? Not bad. All right, get the red out. Okay, this was supposed to be a really Christmassy red, but it looks almost pinky to me, but maybe when it dries it'll be darker, I hope. If not, I will spray the heck out of them with like Lindy's or Tattered Angels or something that's a darker red and get the color I want, or paint them. Yes, that's exactly right. When you break the stem and milk comes out, and that's what causes the irritation to the skin. Yeah, I guess you would say it's basically the flour, but it's still the dough, you know, it's still the bread, so I just add more. I've never tried doing straight flour, like I said, so. Okay, you'll forgive me. There are little bits of green in here, but it'll be fine. It'll just look like, you know, it was meant to be. And if not, I'll paint it. Messy, but fun. And it does clean up really easily. I mean, you know, you rub your hands together like this and it comes right off. It's just really easy. Easy to clean up. It's kind of like Play-Doh. Okay, so I'm thinking that one looks pretty good now too. All right, now, poinsettias are a little different in that you're going to form them on your mat. So let me go wash my hands because I don't want to mix the two colors more. I'll be right back. Okay, like I said, you're going to form it right on your mat, and you're going to need a toothpick or a skewer or something to make your lines in your sleeves with. So we're going to start with the green, and you need, for this, I mean, I'm making some big ones, so you need a pretty good chunk, and I'm going to roll it around and get my dough ball again. Want it nice and smooth. Okay, then I'm going to take it and I'm just going to palm it. And this is still kind of sticky, so it's not working as nicely as it usually does, but we'll pat it. You could probably use a glass or something if you wanted to too, but I just use my hands for everything. Stretch out there. And again, it does not have to be a perfect circle because these we're actually going to use our skewer and draw. But you want it to be round enough that you can get, you know, your 3 petals at a triangle type kind of shape. So. Ugh, this is really sticking to my hand. I think I put too much paint or something in it. Anyway, I really do know how to make this stuff, guys. There we go. Now it's coming. Okay, I'm just going to keep patting and spreading until I get it to the thickness I want. And when you're doing them really big, you don't want to get them quite as thin as the little ones. And I'll try to show you here in a second. I'll lift it up and see. Still pretty thin, but I think you can see it's just slightly thicker. So I don't have a measurement because, yeah, it's probably 1/16 of an inch thick, where the other ones were even thinner. Okay, so now I'm going to come in and I'm going to draw like this. And like that. And that's just to get you started. So it doesn't have to be, you know, perfect when you start. Whoops, I didn't get that one all the way through. There we go. Okay. And now you can go in and shape it. And you just squish it, get it how you want it, and then pat it back out. I want to move this one over a little bit, I think. So I'm just going to squish it that way and then pat it that way. So you get the idea. You can kind of move it around. Okay, make my points. Okay, and that's the beginning of your poinsettia. Now, if you want more green on it, you could do another layer of green. I usually do 1 layer of green and 2 layers of red. Okay, so now I've got that. I'm just going to gently pick it up. And here, I'll bring it up to the camera so you can see it. There you go. Okay. I'm going to set that aside. Now, it is not perfectly smooth, and I would probably take a little water if I were doing this in my, you know, where I normally go in my kitchen to do these, because water's handy there. And just smooth them out slightly. But if you work it enough, you don't have to do that either. Okay, then we're just going to make 3 more of the exact same, or I mean 2 more of the exact same thing, but in the red. Get the screen off my hands. And I'm just scraping it off into the garbage. Comes off pretty easy with rubbing. Okay, pretty good. And we're going to do the same thing. Ooh, I can't wait. I hope you guys do. I want to see. It's so much fun. You guys will just love it, and you'll be wanting to make every type of flower out there. You could take a skewer and attach them to this to make like a gladiola or bluebonnet. I mean, you can do so much with this stuff. Okay, yeah, this red one's much easier to work with. So, and you can see, well, maybe you can't, but I can see I got lots of little green bits in there, but that's okay. It'll still look cool, and like I said, if it's ugly when I'm done, I'll just paint it. Okay, you want to get it about the same size as the other one, give or take, just slightly. And then just take your pointy end of your skewer and draw your petals. Okay, so hopefully you guys have a bunch of these made by 2 weeks from yesterday, because we're going to need them when we make our next project. Okay, so there's that, and I'm just going to shape it and smooth it a bit. I want that one a little wider. Bring it to my point. Okay, now, once you have them shaped, and I'm going to make one more real quick one, then you're going to take your skewer and go in and make your lines. And you're going to start like this and just do a line, 2, 3. Okay, I don't like this one. It's not good enough for me. I'm picky. So I'm going to make it a little thicker. There we go. Okay? And then you go in and you draw your spines. And they don't have to be symmetrical. It's however you want it to be. You just want it to have that impression of the poinsettia leaf. Okay, normally I make mine first and then I go in and do it on all of them, but I just wanted to show you guys. So, let's see, there we go. So you can see how I drew the spines on there. And then I just kind of take it where I made the center and bend it up just a little bit. So they have a little bit of dimension. It's not going to be a lot, but, you know, enough to give it that dimension. And then I stack it on top of my green one, but I haven't made the spines on that yet. So, okay, so let's go a little more into our next layer. Hi, Teddy. Okay, now I want this one just a hair smaller, because once you stack them, of course, you know, then you're going to, you don't want it to cover up the other one completely. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my petals again. And as you see, these are far from perfect, guys. It's very free-form art. Okay, pick up my outside pieces. And I always wipe my end of my skewer off and get it off, because once it dries, it's harder to get off. That glue gets really pretty strong once it's dry. Okay, so not loving the shape of this one, so I'm going to go in and reshape a little bit. Add some over here. So there we go, and now I'll just reshape it. bring it to a point. All right, I think that's going to work. It's not perfect, but I think it'll work. Okay, I'm going to go in and draw my spines again. Just lay it down and push. Lay it down and push. Paint's in the way there. There we go. Okay, lay it down and push. And go in and draw the spines. Don't like the end of that. Squish it together. There we go. So you can see why I left the poinsettias for last. They are a little more work, but they are pretty. Okay, so that one's done. I'm going to bring this green one back over here and do it real quick. Okay, draw my spines. Now, after these dry, I go in and tip them with glitter. And I'll show that on my next one, but I just wanted to tell you in case you wanted to do it ahead of time. I just brushed the clear around the edge a little bit and just put the coordinating color of glitter on, just because I think it adds a little something, but you certainly wouldn't have to. Okay, so I've got my 3 parts now, and I'm going to start building. I'm bending up. I don't like how that's not very pointy, but it's too dry now, so. Okay, bend it up just slightly. Put this one on. We're going to put that one on. You don't want it quite kitty corner. See how that would be perfectly kitty corner? Because your 3rd layer is going to go on there too, but you want it centered. So, and then you just kind of push a little in the middle. And then you put your next one on. Let's see, that's not working. Let's see, there we go. That's the right way. And, you know, it may take you a second or two to figure out how to get it on there just right. Okay, so you got all 3 of them together. And now just take your skewer and push it together in the center, because you still have to add your middle part. I don't make the middle part out of the dough. I use something else, so I just kind of make a hole in order to put them in later, and we will do that next time. So get myself a good center there, but I want them to connect, so that's why I kind of push it, you know, all the way through on all 3 of them, because that makes them help stick too. Okay, and there you can see. Whoops, let's see. Let me get this straight. Ah, my camera's not. There we go. Voila. you have a poinsettia beginning, minus the center. So what do you think? Is that a pretty poinsettia? Can you see it? Try it up here. Woo-hoo. There we go. And, you know, you could play with it and get your leaves where you want them. You know, however you want. You just play with it. Make it to the point where you like it, because you're the one that has to look at it. Okay? So that has to completely dry, and then we will put our center part in the next time I see you. And all I use for that, I'll tell you right now, is just little tiny seed beads. Like, not seed beads exactly, but the little tiny, tiny pearl round ones. Okay, so that's it for tonight. We made 3 different flowers. We made our mint-colored rose, our poinsettia, and our callas. You lift those up so you can see them closer. There's the poinsettia, there's the calla, and there's the rose. I have to tell you, the rose is my favorite, but these things are addictive. Like I said, you will try to make every kind of flower out there, because I sure have. Okay, so make a bunch of poinsettias and come on back in 2 weeks from yesterday, actually, and we will put them to work on another project. Hope you guys liked it. Glad you could join me for my very, very first show. Thanks, Patty. They're really easy. Go back and watch the recording. You'll see how simple it is. Aw, you guys are great. Okay, well, in 2 weeks when we make this project, there will be a prize at the end of the show, so hopefully you all can join me. It'll be Thursday night at 7 p.m. on the, hang on, let me look at my calendar, the 5th of December. Thank you, guys. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I was a nervous wreck, I have to tell you. Last night I about panicked when it didn't work. Thank you, Sue. Deanne, Patty, Pam, all of you have been great. And I think, Rebecca, are you still here? Judy, you missed a lot. But it's recorded, so when it's over, you'll be able to see it. Thank you all. All right, that's it for me. Oh, Angela, how the heck did you do the pow? That's awesome. All right, good night, you guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, Angela. Thank you, ladies. Yeah, I did show it. Did you miss it? Here, I'll show you again. I'll show it up close. There you go. It's not finished because it has to dry before we can do the center. All right, ladies, that's it. I will see you next time. Have a good one.